Now, because Tim was delayed, there were only 2 of us that arrived at the ferry terminal at Heysham. That was me and Steve. We went pretty much straight onto the boat. Got up to our seats that we'd booked in the lounge. £7 per seat, and I've got to admit they were an awful lot cramped. I would have expected a lot more room. In the main cabin downstairs, where you didn't have to book any extra seats specially, there were nice, big, comfy looking seats. At the site, the check-in was actually really simple and straightforward. You've got a special office put aside for it now, check-in area. We managed to get 3 spaces, park our bikes in such a way that we could keep a space for Tim when he arrives tomorrow, and the same for Wayne when he arrives later on tomorrow. The parking is a lot better these days. You just used to turn up and park your bike next door to the rugby building. Now you've got a huge car park at the back, all set out into rows. We all got parked together, or pitched together, sorry. Mine tented the smallest one out of the 3. So you got the 2 people stood by the bike, you got that lovely big green tent, and then behind it the little diddy one. That was mine. That evening we went to the edge of the campsite, got on the wall alongside Braddon Bridge, and we watched the Superbike 6-lap race that was won by Peter Hickman. Today is Monday the 3rd of June. There is no racing scheduled today at all. But I have to go and meet Timmy at the ferry terminal. He's arriving at 5:30 this morning, which is, well, it's early, innit? So we headed off, got some fuel, and I went down to Castletown, had a little look around the harbour. Then we headed over to Port Erin. It was a bit crowded, to be fair, and we couldn't really find a parking space until we were partway up the hill, overlooking the beach. Didn't stop a few people going out for a swim. No, I'll never understand it. Why do you want to go and swim in the sea when it's cold as it is out here? We then headed off, we're going to go to Peel, and there was a mountain section. Well, I'm going to call it a mountain section. It actually is not a mountain section, it's a bit of a hill. And as we went up it was cloudy, but then it cleared up. What a lovely road that was, absolutely bloody loved it. But Peel itself was crammed full. All along the seafront, there was no spaces in there for anybody to get in at all. So we headed off towards Ramsey, eventually pulling up for something to eat at Kirkmichael. And then that night, we went to Bushy's bar. Now let's be clear about the police at the Isle of Man. They are somewhat friendlier than they are on the UK mainland. The music? Well, the first band on did a fair mixture of things like ABBA through to AC/DC through to Black Sabbath. Whether they were good or not, I wasn't entirely sure. I did recognise some of the songs as they came on, but then the next act came on. An Elton John impersonator.
See, I like this one.
All of a sudden I appreciated the first band that had been on. Now Tuesday, this was meant to be a race day, but they'd cancelled. By 10 o'clock in the morning they'd said they were going to not race and they'd give an update at midday. So we decided to go for a ride round to Ramsey. We got there, had a hot cup of coffee and had a wrap with chicken, Cajun chicken wrap I think it was that I had. And then we headed off back to the paddock where I spent £65 on a hoodie. You can see the photographs. My missus had some rather charming comment to make, something along the lines of, "You look a flipping idiot," but she wouldn't have me any other way. yeah, that's my missus. But they did get a bit of a race on. It's the sidecar shakedown. 1 lap is what they did. We got back onto the Braddon Bridge. We were on the campsite by the time they announced that the racing was going to go ahead, and rather than try and get somewhere else, we just said, sorry, we'll just go and sit on the wall. We got a bit closer to Braddon Bridge itself so we could see a little bit round the bend, and we just watched all the drivers and riders and passengers go past. And then it was back to the rugby club bar. I think I had a beer, I'm not sure if it did. I think by then I was looking at beer. I had beer at Bushy, so I would have. On the Wednesday, we had quite a clear start to the day. Lovely sunshine coming up over the hills, and the racing was going ahead as normal. So we headed off to the bungalow. Michael Dunlop, I got him, I got him. If you film the bikes from the back, you don't see their numbers, so you don't know who's riding. But I knew Michael Dunlop was coming round, and I knew he was about to get his 27th win and set a record. So I sat there, pointing the camera, back away from the bungalow bend, hoping to pick him up as he come past. And I got him. About half a second probably, but I got him. In one particular case, I took still photos one after the other just by tapping the phone quickly, tick, 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 tick. Because I just wanted to see how far they were leaning their bikes. Okay, video shows it, but it's moving, so it comes to an end fairly quickly. But if you've got a still photo, you can look at it for as long as you like, and they were leaning well past 45 degrees. Well past. After that race, the weather closed in, it started piddling down, and they cancelled all the racing. Not so much for the rest of the day, but for our purposes, there was not going to be any other racing. We headed off back to the campsite after that. The only other notable thing on this day is that when I got to the campsite, I noticed my bike had topped the 60,000 mile mark. On the Thursday, racing was going ahead. We had 2 sidecar races and a super stock race. So we chose to head off to Ramsey on this day. The first sidecar race got stopped, got red flagged. So a couple of the sidecars pulled into Ramsey. They cancelled that race and then went on with the Superstock race. That did 3 laps, and you've got to see them coming down here. I mean, it's unbelievable what they do. There were bikes sliding into Parliament Square. Some of them were sliding for the last 50, 60, 100 yards with their back wheel going side to side. Others actually managed to slide as they were turning into Parliament Square. It's a hell of a thing to watch. After that race was over, they did the second sidecar race. This time they shortened it to 2 laps. There's been a little bit of weather sort of going on. They've delayed some of the races. Those men who sit in the passenger seat, what the hell are they doing? They are scary as hell watching what they're doing. On the Friday, I screwed up. I should have checked the schedule before I packed my tent away. I'd have found out they'd cancelled the race and they were going to give an update at 12. Could have stayed in my tent. As it happens, we got tapas on Douglas Prom, a photograph with the Bee Gees, and then spent a mind-numbing 6 hours sitting in the ferry terminal because they didn't have space on an earlier ferry for us to just get on and go. And I finished with this photograph. This was at Ramsey on the Thursday. It'd been a long day and I was a bit knackered. So I went and curled up behind some bins and had a sleep. And unbeknownst to me, my photograph got taken. Here it is. What do you reckon? My missus just thought, what the hell?